The goal of the seminar is to give people a chance to feel, because the only way to learn universal effortless therapy is through state. We can talk about it endlessly, but until we feel it, it doesn't become ours. And the most important thing we get from this seminar is a different point of observation. Loving people isn't the issue. If I don't genuinely love people but still try to practice psychology, I'll quickly burn out.
Please tell me, is there anywhere else for witches to go besides coming to you for universal effortless therapy?
You need to clearly understand that the manifested world is only 20%. 80% is the unmanifested world. And different laws operate there. I firmly believe that a person who has resolved their spiritual issues or is on the path to resolving them deals with the material much more easily, because the material level is lower lying, and from the upper frequencies it's much easier for us to solve everything there.
My name is Ekaterina Martovskaya. I recently completed the Worldview Seminar on Universal Effortless Therapy, and I want to share my impressions and ask Leonid several questions that became very interesting to me while I was learning this truly new knowledge for myself. During the seminar, I felt a very interesting sensation not only of my own practice, but also the sensation of that field that was in the space between people. I felt that a special connection forms between people and trust is formed. That is, such trust that was felt at this seminar, I have rarely encountered anywhere else in any training, because usually everyone still comes with their own programs, their own blinders. How do you manage to achieve such a complete field so that people can easily open up and talk about really serious traumas and problems? Because for many, even just coming to a psychologist can be a problem. But here, when there are people, witnesses, so to speak, they open up and say very intimate things. How do you manage to do this?
I'm a discerning person, so I begin my seminars with a focus on opening the heart emotional field. This capacity exists in all of us, yet life and society rarely encourage it. As a result, we often become closed, tense, constrained, and even slightly aggressive. During the first couple hours of the seminar, the focus is on activating the internal capacity for love expressed through tolerance, patience, and benevolence. These are the very qualities we often seek in others, yet their authentic development requires that we first cultivate them within ourselves.
Do you achieve this through just explanations alone, or do you specifically, through your own sensation, turn on this field?
There are three aspects. First, we provide theory. The cranial camaraderie in our left hemisphere needs something to eat. Second, I introduce the sensation and give participants the opportunity to experience it. And third, they practice it, because like any skill, it requires training.
Can a person who hasn't been in this field, hasn't felt it independently, come to this and maybe just by listening to your lecture or video on YouTube, open this in themselves?
This isn't forbidden, but it's a bit more difficult.
Good. The practices you gave us are quite deep, but I noticed that sometimes people assume they can do this independently. What practices can be done independently so that maybe someone can test themselves somewhere? And are there practices that people can test on others without such deep training and immersion in the method?
Well, I think the most important thing the seminar is made for life is exactly as we see it, as we observe it. And the most important thing we get from the seminar is a different point of observation. Quantum physics. The observer influences the observed object. Some of us have heard this, I show it, and I give people the opportunity to feel how simply changing observation instantly changes the situation. Moreover, not only observation of what's outside, but actually if you try to observe yourself not from the story about what's wrong with me, but from love, we get the most powerful resources. Anyone can do this. This can be done with me, without me. Do as we do better than us. There are no questions here. The goal of the seminar is to give people a chance to feel, because the only way to learn universal effortless therapy is through state. We can talk about it endlessly, but until we feel it, it doesn't become ours. Therefore, all training is built on the fact that, yes, I can feel this, and if this book has already appeared in my library, I can take it off the shelf later when I need it.
Yes, about the book, really for me personally, it was as if all knowledge fell into alphabetical order. And from this, a second question arose, because at this seminar, very clear instructions are given directly, and you really reveal many spheres in great detail. When I tried to do it at home according to the system, and checked, for example, where I have moments a question arose. That is, I found everything worked out. How much is this truth? And do I need to double check, so to speak, with a professional? That is, this trust in oneself, it's usually not yet formed in a person. And how much can one really trust the truth of what they found?
There are two aspects here. Yes, trust is a good thing, but each of us also has access to truth to varying degrees. Honestly, access to truth is a magic wand that frees us from many unnecessary things. But from my experience, even those people who study professionally with me and prepare to become universal effortless therapists take 3 to 4 years.
3 to 4 years.
Because our access to truth is limited, we mainly live with untruth. Not bad, no complaints.
But the muscle test we use, is it sufficiently reliable?
When I do it on others, yes. When I do it on myself, I can deceive myself.
So it's better to unite with those who are like-minded?
Yes.
With like-minded people and testing each other. Yes, good. Then another question. What knowledge might be needed for those who come to study with you at a deeper level? Yes, to become therapists, to apply these methods not just for themselves as their worldview, but to work with people. Is there some criterion by which you select the right people for you?
There are several criteria. Well, first, this person should be a psychologist. But they should have not only psychological education, but also practice as a psychologist. Second, the person who deals with psychology. I don't like the word should, but here it's a story about the fact that we have a minor specialty, not the easiest in the world. And here's one important criterion. It's important for me to love people, because if I don't love people but try to do psychology, I'll just burn out.
Yes, so many come to psychology first to, as I say, heal themselves. And therefore here,
the next important moment is work capacity. Because yes, we give quite a lot at seminars, but everything depends on how ready I am to invest in this. My time, my energy, how ready I am to apply effort. Most of us aren't trained to apply effort. This is the second stage. The third very important moment is breadth. Many of us live in quite narrow concepts, beliefs, and values. They can greatly interfere because we work with different people, with different beliefs and values, and I should look at all of these broadly. Besides love and truth and breadth, there's also a need for such a small thing that's quite fundamental, connection with the Creator. That is, I should have a connection with something greater, and then from there, looking at what happens with people, I see the true picture. Well, that's the minimum. Also, sensitivity never hurts anyone, because we work with the field, we work with what I should feel in people, and these sensations should be at the emotional level. It's important for me to feel what's happening in a person's emotional sphere. It's fundamentally important for me to feel what's happening with their energies, and of course, it's important for me to feel what's happening with their body. You can read thoughts, but that's boring.
yes, well, you've described such very positive qualities, so to speak. But let's still return to the fact that there are many helping professions that are connected, for example, with astrology or tarot. That is, they have slightly different energies that you could say connect to not quite perhaps the bright, pure source. What do we do with such people? Will we take them into universal effortless therapy, teach them so that they also carry this knowledge?
I don't believe in light and dark because it's part of one process. If I have dark, I automatically have light. If I have light, I automatically have dark. Our task is to provide the person with more freedom and more choice. Announce the entire menu so they can choose on which side a person chooses in the process of mastering. I can't say we only take light ones or only dark ones. We take people who have both.
Is it possible, perhaps you've already encountered in your experience, maybe some of your students who took the method and applied it not quite correctly or not quite ecologically for other people? That is, what can be warned against, possibly? Are there such moments?
From violence in all its forms, from working for one's own significance, from therapy of oneself and the client. For this, there's such a thing called undergoing personal therapy. Before a person transitions to therapy, they spend 3 to 5 years figuring out themselves. This is a necessity. Also, no one was ever hurt by such a strange thing, ethics. In our culture, it's not welcomed, it's not taught, and it's a very delicate thing that's practically impossible to teach. Either a person has it, or they're deaf in this sphere. And of course, the basic thing we're moving toward, and this is one of the goals of therapist preparation, is dignity. Only from a state of dignity can you help people and yourself. Such a small spectrum. I've outlined it. This could take a whole lifetime.
I would say that such a legacy you've already left behind, because universal effortless therapy really unites many moments within itself, and this is a new method that you created. Do you have some goal now? How many people do you want to train? How many do you want now in scale? What's your personal goal about the scale you want to reach?
I'll say something scary. In this regard, I absolutely trust the upper producer. I don't specifically target people. It is exactly those who need this who come to us. And I always emphasize not marketing, but that exactly those who really need this will come. And sometimes it's enough for people to watch on YouTube, and something clicks for them, they come.
But I think now many people are awakening. Now is such a time that they feel this response and really come. Now it's as if it's that very time when people themselves feel and come to universal effortless therapy, especially to study it and then teach it further.
Yes, this isn't the only therapy in the world. I don't claim its chosenness in any way, but this is a really working method that can help people. Therefore, we invite all those people who resonate with this, who are ready to apply effort, who are interested in love, in relationships with oneself and with the Creator. By no means should anyone else be compelled to come.
Should others be brought into this work without genuine readiness or personal resonance?
Not needed. We don't need people who come to earn money, only to earn money, or quite a lot of people who simply take universal effortless therapy but don't fill it with real content. That is, they take the form, but without content it loses meaning. We need people who resonate with everything we say.
Exactly that heart field that turns on when we work in universal effortless therapy. Please tell me, is there anywhere else for witches to go besides coming to you for universal effortless therapy?
Universal effortless therapy is very tolerant. We work not only on the level of current life, we work with ancestral systems and reincarnations and with aliens and with any kind of influences. Witches are a frequent story because everyone once had power, both men and women, and very often in our reincarnation histories, this power cost us dearly for some reason. And then we're afraid to enter into contact with it again, but we're built so that it's impossible to cast it out of ourselves. And then it begins to come to us from outside in the form of various kinds of influences. I really love witches because these are people who know, and you can simply return their contact with this power to them. And then their life mysteriously changes almost instantly.
And besides the fact that there are, so to speak, external influences, like witchy ones, love spells, curses, doesn't matter, there are also internal influences. This is when a person gives themselves some vow or oath.
Or self-curse.
Yes, and as I understand, in universal effortless therapy, you can also work with this and find this even if a person doesn't realize it and remove this cause, which, as I understand, can be also not from this life.
Yes. Very much of what happens to us has very indirect relation to this life.
And how much percent in this life do we generally influence what gets realized for us? Or more often are these programs that work within us absolutely from inside?
Well, you'll have to take my word for it because you won't have ways to weigh it. From current life, only 10 to 15%, no more.
Thank you. It's very difficult to believe this, but I really feel it. So I really accept this as truth. When we work according to some programs, we don't even understand ourselves why we reacted to something that way, did something, or even sometimes said something. These really are things that as if don't submit to us, but actually sit very deeply inside us somewhere.
We are peripheral devices, and recently I devoted a lot to the story of how to stop being a manipulator.
How exactly can you revive, awaken, create that person in yourself that is what isn't our biorobot, that is what way exists to do this?
Only two, either the Holy Spirit, which is in each of us, or magic, which takes us beyond the direct laws of the manifested world. Because you need to clearly understand that the manifested world is only 20%, 80% is the unmanifested world, and different laws operate there, and there we can also be humans.
But the Holy Spirit, I understand, this isn't about religion, not about some...
No, this is the spirit that allows us to be connected with the Creator.
What practices or what might help us feel this connection?
This can only be felt at seminars, To do it just like that, I can't. Everything else I can, and this is difficult. Because we have many complaints against the Creator, we have three main reasons why we don't have contact with them. Either harm was caused to us in His name. Remember the wonderful times of the Inquisition.
Yes, it resonates.
Of course. Or relations with Him cost us too much, and we were stoned or crucified. And the third variant, the most frequently encountered, is that we disagree with our destiny or the destiny of our loved ones. And considering that all these destinies are coordinated above, it means we disagree with the decision.
With the decision,
And then we can't enter into contact with Him because we have complaints against Him.
yes. And then we should work through this complaint just the same way.
Yes, this is a costly pleasure. Complaints to the Lord? Not everyone can afford to argue.
We may do this in an assembly or in other ways.
But in the end, we are dealing with the universe itself. From our perspective, this is a fundamental question. Do I have a connection with something greater or not?
Is it possible at the Worldview seminar, having just realized this cause, to simply change it? Or still need to do some practices in addition?
At the Worldview seminar, this can be seen and decided whether this is needed or not. And then certain actions are needed. Work with a psychologist.
Still with specialists?
Yes, this is a delicate place of universal effortless therapy. A psychologist is still needed for now.
As we discovered and even witnessed at the seminar, the percentage of what is truly human in many people is surprisingly small. Though they live in human bodies, many other parts are alien, so the human percentage isn't actually that large. Here's an interesting moment. When a soul enters into this body, it realizes that all these parts present from past incarnations, perhaps even from some other planets, will manifest here, and that it will need to work through all of this in this life, in this body.
This is also included in the plans. This is all in one scenario. Yes, because we are consequences of all those experiences we have. And not for nothing do we drag them in the causal body.
And if a person realizes that they're kind of not of this world, do they need to do something about this, or accept this as their gift and their power, and on the contrary, make this more like their accent? Or should I still change and accept?
There's no single solution. This needs to be looked at. Because there were many situations when we looked and saw that a person really has alien experience prevailing, or it constitutes quite a large part of their life. In some situations, there was no sense in grounding, because thanks to being in this state, the person did things that in an earthly state they couldn't have done. That is, these are people who engaged in spiritual practices and led other people. On the other hand, there are many situations when you really need to ground, because until a person is grounded, they can't enter into real contacts, neither with themselves, nor with their goals and tasks, nor even with the future. Because the only thing they do is sit and wait for when a spaceship comes for them to take them away.
Yes, and here's another very important moment. Many of those who now engage in spiritual practices, their material sphere begins to suffer in one way or another. And I've seen so many such people who say that there's only spirit, there's only something divine, spiritual practices for them, while in fact they're not manifested at all. They have no resources, no money, and they consider this, so to speak, normal. That is, here you need to somehow unite the edges, combine, make friends between themselves, or still leave everything as is.
Well, most likely in this sphere I have a non-traditional view of things. I believe that spirituality and materialism is a favorite duality that so many people play in favor of some pole. Depriving oneself of material doesn't lead us to spirituality faster. I firmly believe that a person who has resolved, or is actively working to resolve, their spiritual issues tends to manage material concerns more easily, since the material level operates at a lower plane. From higher frequencies, problem solving becomes significantly easier for us.
That is, it's worth paying attention. If everything isn't yet arranged in the material, then perhaps you're not so spiritual.
There is no sense playing this duality, because the world is given to us in all manifestations. There is no sense emphasizing something.
And when a soul comes into this world, and we very often meet people, and there's a feeling that we've already seen each other somewhere already, like a kindred soul. And is this always exactly from past lives, or maybe this is a story of these incarnations, current incarnations, maybe just as some experience that we want to impose on ourselves and invent and create, that this is my partner for life, but actually maybe this is just some karmic task that needs to be worked out?
There are several aspects. We can talk about there really being soul families, and we're born each time surrounded by the same souls, just changing roles. This is one story. Yes. And the second story is about us inventing all kinds of magical rituals that can somehow reduce uncertainty. And very often karma turns into a magic wand that rescues us from almost everything but doesn't help much. And there's another moment: rejections, transferences, counter-transferences, what we deal with in psychology. And this also exists, and this is from current life.
That is not always when it seems to us that we possibly knew each other in a past life, is it? That's why we double check and assess everything through universal effortless therapy.
Yes, but you saw that when I tested, there wasn't a single random person at the seminar. That is, the question is only one thing: at how many times we met with whom.
It's even interesting to know how many times we've met with each other.
We can test after the podcast.
On Bali, of course, there are so many, I said not for nothing, people who are a bit not of this world, a bit maybe with some alien experience and even parts. And I see how here there's such a direct concentration of people who want to combine not only spiritual but also material, because still here matter is quite manifested. There's a lot of nature. There's really a lot of everything here that people want to feel and really live, because if it's just spirituality, that's a bit more India, so to speak. But here people still want to live, enjoy themselves. I see it as very valuable for myself to also develop universal effortless therapy here. I would very much like to study with you and carry this knowledge here to Bali to also help people in practice how this method can be easily, quickly, effectively used for oneself. What struck me is that you really don't need to go through very long therapy, several months, and one issue is solved literally in 20 minutes. This speed, ease, and simplicity, that's what I saw with universal effortless therapy for myself, most important, most valuable, and I want to also help and bring this further to people.
Yes, thank you. To help you with this, you don't need to come anywhere, because all the main training goes online.
Very convenient.
Yes, offline, these are groups. When this can be tried on oneself for training, people from all over the world study. This is done online, and therefore doesn't depend on where you live.
This is very convenient, yes.
I'm very glad that this interested you, because every person with whom this resonates is for us precious diamonds.
It resonates very much, and I think that now more and more people resonate with someone. I really notice how, even in my circle, when I posted a few stories, how strong the response was from people to this universal effortless therapy. Many were familiar, but were familiar either having heard somewhere or exactly or from some students, and they want to specifically touch with you, feel this method on themselves. So it's very great that you now conduct your seminars in different parts of the world so that more people can come, see, and get acquainted with you personally.
Thank you. This really is my task, and I dedicate my life to it, but I get pleasure from this. Thank you.
Do you plan to come to Bali again, conduct seminars, conduct maybe some offline programs in the future and some maybe even near future?
Well, first I found the wonderful energy of this island. And second, there are already plans specifically to place our seminars. Olia has already prepared everything for this. There's already a space and people ready to provide it. And therefore, yes, I'll be coming. Yes, I'll be teaching. And yes, I invite you all.
Yes, we're waiting for you very much. And I'll gladly come to your seminars myself and also invite all my acquaintances and friends. Thank you for this podcast. Thank you for the interesting answers. I think many probably have even more questions from your answers, but this can be asked either personally or when they come to your seminars.
Or watch on my YouTube channel, Universal Effortless Therapy.
Thank you.
Thank you.